Welcome to Chamber Chat. I'm John Tayer, President and CEO of the Boulder Chamber, and I'm very excited for today's conversation because it's about an issue that is so important to our regional businesses, to our workforce, and that is mobility, in particular alternative transportation, our transit service in this region. And we have some great guests to talk about that subject with. We have Lynn Guissinger and we have Erik Davidson, who are our RTD Board representatives for this region, as well as Amanda Mansfield, who is our Senior Manager for Transportation Issues here at the Boulder Chamber. And so we're going to have a conversation with them, but first, a few announcements from the Boulder Chamber. So we have our Leadership Fellows Program application period. And if you don't know what Leadership Fellows is, it's an amazing program that I went through. I'm sure some others in this community that you know, leaders, have gone through. It's great exposure to all the things that are happening and all the people that make them happen in our region over an 11-month period. And you meet monthly. Amazing program, must do if you're interested in getting involved in our community. And so application period is through June 20. It can be quite competitive. We only take 30 applicants, so get your application in now for Leadership Fellows. And then we have our Women Who Light the Community nomination period. You are probably aware of this program because it's just an amazing, heartwarming opportunity to honor the business women leaders in our community and others who have risen up and helped drive important initiatives. And we want to make sure to recognize them, so make sure to get your nominees into the Boulder Chamber by June 24. And I note that we also have a special category for an emerging youth leader. And so that individual, if they win, gets a $1,500 scholarship. So think about who are the women who are leading our community and make sure to nominate them by June 24th. And then finally, we have one of those great opportunities to get together. Beer with me, Beer with John, that's going to be on May 17th, and it's at one of my favorite breweries in town, Avery. Beautiful mix of brews and libations, and we want to make sure you just have a chance to get there. So sign up, that's on at 4:30 to 6 p.m. at Avery Brewing on May 17th.
I thought this was Beer with John.
That's a secret.
That's what
after.
you told me. Yeah.
That's in the green room after the presentation. I love that attitude.
Yeah.
All right. Well, not right this moment because we're going to just get into the conversation about regional transportation. I know exactly. But this is an important issue to our community. You guys know that transit service that is provided mostly by RTD District, but also a few of our partners, is very important for our workforce to commute back and forth from our businesses in Boulder across the region. We have 70,000 plus employees coming to town on a regular basis. So just want to know, what are some of the initiatives that are occurring at RTD that we would want to know about that are going to help drive and improve transit in our region?
Great. Maybe since I have breaking news, I'll kick it off here.
Sure, please.
Just this afternoon, as it's sign and die, the last day of the legislature, they passed, one's in progress but about to pass, and the other one has passed, two bills that the RTD board has supported and that I'm very excited about. One of them is that the Colorado Energy Office will get a grant for 2 years to fund zero fare transit in the month of August for RTD. It's it will work for, there's money for rural transit agencies and for CDOT to expand its service, I think mostly up I-70. But for RTD, we'll be offering it for the month of August, free fares. We hope we will get you out. We hope we'll get you and all of us out, maybe do a kickoff day and go from there. And then
I'll just say why I love that. It's a great way to introduce folks back to transit after many of them have been working remotely for so long, just getting back to their commute. So it just sounds like a great idea.
It is, and the idea, what came out in the governor's budget is ozone season.
Yeah.
To offer, 30 days or 31 in this case of free fares during ozone season. So it's an exciting thing. And then the other one is House Bill 1026, which offers a 50% tax credit, not just a deduction, but a 50% tax credit for businesses that buy alternate transportation options for their employees. So eco-passes are the ones we're really excited about, but all of them, e-bikes and bike share, and you probably know more of them, Amanda, than I do. But
yeah, eco-passes are a wonderful part of it. Also installing chargers, providing lockers, installing bicycle racks.
Oh, great.
So any kind of TDM or travel demand management type of offering, you can get a 50% tax credit, like you said.
Yeah.
Super
Great incentive. Awesome. And I know that the Boulder Chamber was a big advocate for that initiative, so
Good.
big partnership.
Yep.
Well, anything else that you want to put on the table, Erik?
Yeah, one thing I would add that I'm really excited about, one of our more popular routes, and certainly a very exciting route for folks, is the Flatiron Flyer, going between Boulder and Denver and everywhere in between. And we're very excited that we're moving forward with the Colorado 119 initiative, where we're bringing a similar style bus rapid transit system to the Colorado 119 corridor. So for those of us that have been on the diagonal recently, we see that the vehicle miles traveled are certainly increasing and actually outpacing even pre-pandemic.
Yeah.
So we're very excited that we'll be bringing some really high quality service there. At RTD, we just recently passed, the board passed a resolution committing to this project. We're committing $33 million, $5 million this year to start things. And working with CDOT, we're working on these Q bypass lanes. The 119 corridor is a tough corridor to really accelerate travel.
Yeah.
But by implementing these Q bypass lanes, we can allow buses to pull over past the traffic, which can actually speed up the time by about 50%.
Wow.
In your most congested times when we're all stuck there. And what's cool, speaking of the biking, it's it's a multimodal corridor. So we're working on bikeways and how to integrate those and make those safe. So on the heels of just opening some new bike shelters along the Flatiron Flyer corridor, certainly exciting to be talking about that on one of our more congested corridors in the north that's been in need.
I love it. These are great investments for our regional commutes. Well, let me then turn it to Amanda. Amanda's relatively new to the Boulder Chamber organization and reflects the Boulder Chamber's commitment to transportation services for our organization, or for our businesses, excuse me, and part of the new relationship that we have with BTC, now part of the Boulder Chamber. So maybe you can tell the group what is Boulder Transportation Connections, and then what are some of the local exciting initiatives that you're working on?
Sure, it's my pleasure. So yes, thank you, John. Amanda Mansfield, Senior Manager of Transportation, Boulder Transportation Connections. Boulder Transportation Connections is the local City of Boulder Transportation Management Organization, or TMO. Now, I'll try to make that the last acronym I use.
We're used to
know
them.
Everyone loves them. They're super exciting. So Boulder Transportation Connections, what we do in a nutshell is we work with the Chamber now to reach out to employers and help them figure out how to get their employees to commute sustainably. And pretty much the number one method is eco-passes. So we're able to help them realize and then set up programs to distribute free eco-passes to their employees, which is a really awesome offering for employees. It's exciting for the employers as well, because offering these kinds of great benefits helps them with attraction and retention of employees. So that's something really exciting that we do, is help, again, employers figure out how to help their employees sustainably commute, especially as it relates to transit. Another really cool thing that we have going on as it relates to transit, so I understand that RTD is committed and is really passionate about public-private partnerships to fill those local transit gaps. So that allows RTD to focus more on regional service, which is so important. And so we're working with RTD and the city and the county, as you'll know, to develop the gun barrel on demand, non-fixed route microtransit shuttle.
That's awesome.
To fill those local transit gaps in gun barrel, to connect those gun barrel folks to regional routes up and down 119. And so yeah, that's something super, super exciting related to transit that we're working with you on.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, it is a great partnership. I'm just pulling together a service that will connect to the regional transit service that RTD provides, and then to have a local shuttle that grabs people at the connection and drives them right to their place of work. Just exciting for that coming up.
Big difference, it makes a big difference, have
Yeah.
that first and final mile.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you're not just let off and then figuring out how to get to work.
Right.
You're just right delivery to your workplace at work, and it's gonna be on demand, which is exciting.
Yeah.
So, we talk about some great initiatives that are going on, some, RTD locally. Just let me ask, RTD I know is facing some challenges. There's,
No.
particular funding.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, exactly. Everything's rosy.
Yeah.
All right, well, program's over. There you go.
Program's over.
All right, all positive. But
Where's the beer?
Exactly. Now's the time to start drinking. But I'll just say that just to be upfront, you guys know that I sat on the RTD board. It's a challenging position. I mean, there's funding questions. There's demands for service across a broad region. So just wondering, what challenges are you focused on addressing, and how are you addressing those issues?
Yeah, maybe I'll start it off just by talking
Sounds
about
good.
one of our big challenges has been workforce. Like many industries and like many transit agencies, we're very, very limited on our workforce right now. That includes just about everybody, through the whole organization, but especially right now, our operators and our mechanics are really limiting the service we can provide. And this is really frustrating for us as a board and as a transit agency, that actually we're more limited by who we have to work for us than we do finances. That's not a question or an issue we usually have. And so that's been one of the big challenges, and we're not alone in this. The American Public Transit Association actually published a recent study and survey, and of U.S. transit agencies, 92% are having a hard time hiring operators right now in particular, and 71% have cut and reduced service as a result of workforce shortages.
Sure.
So that's been a big one we've been facing. I think one of the things that we're excited about is we've recently signed the new collective bargaining agreement with the primary union representing our employees, the ATU 1001. And we've done some really, really important things in there that, being on the finance side of things, I'm very excited about. Certainly one thing is we've increased wages for a lot of these employees, which is really long overdue. For our operators and mechanics, we're looking at 25% increases, starting with immediate 16% bumps and some year-over-year increases after that. One thing I'm really excited about, it's been hard to retain and attract employees because of our pension plan and our retirement plans. They haven't been competitive, and we haven't been able to increase the benefits because our pension plan has been slipping into lower and lower levels of funding. Using some of the recent federal funding, we've actually got our pension now 85% funded.
Wow.
We've also doubled some of the multipliers for newer employees, and we're moving to a more modern plan starting in 2023 for new employees with a very, very competitive plan that's similar to a 401k that some of our business listeners might be familiar with, but the public version of 403b, where they're going to get 9% of their wages contributed into the plan, up to a 5% employer match should they choose to continue to add to that. And so we're really hoping now that we've gotten past all these negotiations, that we've signed off, we can lock arms with our union and really work together to attract more employees to come join us at RTD and drive up service again.
So where do I sign up?
Yeah.
I will say this, I know how important that is because it relates to reliability of service, which then is a consideration for folks who are trying transit and trying to get oriented to it.
Right.
So love that you're going to work
Hate
on
dropping routes.
Exactly.
Hate runs, dropping runs.
Yeah, totally. And that can turn people off from that alternative.
The reliability is a huge challenge when you get those updates and you're waiting for the train or the bus, and perhaps you're even forming new habits of getting to work or getting around. You only have a few chances of we as RTD having some missed runs before you can risk losing that customer. So it's a big deal.
Yeah, absolutely beautiful. Well, anything else that you would want to mention?
Yeah, I'll mention some of the security issues that we've had lately.
Sure.
This is a newer issue, and a lot of it is really a result of the pandemic when commuters quit taking the bus, and then a lot of it's centered at Union Station in Denver. When Denver closed down the Civic Center, a lot of people unhoused and people, it's with some drug issues. The bus area downstairs at Union Station is nice, benches, and there's electric outlets and all of that. So it was becoming a real problem for a
a
while.
magnet for some
Yeah.
disreputable people.
I was there yesterday, both at around 2 and around 4, and I'm hoping the weather is helping a lot, cause it
Nice.
looked good.
Oh, is that good to hear?
Yeah, you know, it doesn't mean that's a solution, but it
Mhm.
might be a temporary
Yeah.
reprieve, and I wasn't there late, so I can't really say for sure. Our new CEO, she's been there about 1.5 years, Deborah Johnson, and our former chair, Angie Rivera-Malpetti, been working hard with our staff and with Denver, the city of Denver, and Denver police to institute some changes, some environmental design changes. Ultimately, the plan is that area is gonna be a paved fare zone with
Okay.
turnstiles or paid exits.
So to get into the bus depot, you'd have to,
It's probably,
maybe a
I would
big
say maybe
customer.
18 months away from that, but they're doing some other things, increasing the lighting and closing off some of the entries and exits where people were, you know, hanging out in the stairwell and things like that. So, you know, luckily I would say I've talked with the city and county, and we're not having as much of the same kind of issue in this area.
that's good to hear.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you going, those are two critical issues. So now, opportunity to look forward and thinking about the future for transit in our region, just continuing upward progress and wondering, what is the vision that you two have for transit service in our region and some of the newer perspective initiatives that you hope to pursue?
Well, we didn't mention finances.
Okay, fair enough, yeah.
You know, my vision is that, you know, we need more money.
Yeah.
We get the sales tax that's the base and the fast tracks that adds up to a penny. But we have, you know, as Erik works closely with, a lot of issues. And just as the region grows, we need to be able to offer the kind of transit that people want. We need to be able to bring in more money. But my vision is, you know, I'm really hopeful we'll expand those partnerships.
Yep.
We've mentioned the public-private partnerships. They may be public, you know, with local or state and others that, I think your gun barrel shuttle is a great example of, you know, the kind of partnership we could put together. Reimagine RTD is the process has been going for more than a couple of years at this point. We're coming out with a system optimization plan and then the mobility plan for the future, and they're coming out with more of a set plan for how we judge partnerships and put them together. I'd really like to see us become, you know, really embrace the BRT study, the NAM study, the regional routes, the
Yeah.
regional backbone, as they say.
Yeah.
And hope that we could work with some of our other jurisdictions to really expand transit.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think the idea of this regional backbone is something that we need to be looking at a lot at RTD. One thing that's really challenging financially is we're funded on this sales tax, and that doesn't necessarily scale equally to the way that the region is growing. So we've got 2,300 square miles, which is very large for a transit agency of very different types of areas, rural, suburban, urban. And so we're not really scaling with the type of growth that we have here. So the only way we can solve that is through these partnerships. And when I look, for example, the northern region here, thinking about really high quality regional connectivity along 7, along 287, along 119, along 36, you start to envision how RTD can create this backbone and start to work with Lafayette and Broomfield and Boulder County and Broomfield County and Adams County to really understand how that first and last mile and how local transportation can feed into that backbone.
Yep.
That's a conversation that I'd really like to see our board start to really dive into with our CEO and with our team as we look towards the future with growth and as we come out of this painful period we've been in with the pandemic.
Yeah, I love that concept of certainty around the backbone and just strong regional service. So important for Boulder. And then the partnerships with the local communities, like we've talked about the gun barrel shuttle. Well, let me then turn it to Amanda, and you know, relatively new in this position, getting a sense of the region, but what do you have as a vision for local service that complements this regional transportation?
Well, the thing is, they stole all my answers. That's what I was gonna say. I agree.
Darn.
I was gonna say funding. You know, we super subsidize, as we all know, cars. in our country, so we need to subsidize transit. Transit of all the sustainable modes is going to have the most impact on greenhouse gas emission reduction, climate change mitigation. That's how we get to our climate action goals here in the city of Boulder. And so I see the voters as being in a position of power here, and the riders. People can vote for ballot measures that would increase funding for RTD. People can ride transit and demonstrate that there's demand, which I believe indirectly helps RTD acquire more federal funding. So people have the power to help RTD fulfill its dreams to become a wonderful regional network. And I really agree that that relationship between RTD being having a strong regional focus and the local public-private partnerships, first mile, last mile service, is so key because there's so many situations here where people can't afford to live where they work. So we need, from an equity perspective, we need to have really great regional transit so lower income people can travel into, for instance, Boulder, but perhaps can't afford to live here, and for that they need great transit. So I'm excited about RTD's vision to focus on regional and the public-private partnership to fill those gaps for local. And yeah, I see that as where we should put our attention. That and increasing the money.
Increasing the money.
Getting that money.
Well, I'll just say this, there are challenges, and we know it, and we see increased traffic, and we know that is not going to be conducive to supporting our businesses and attracting workforce to Boulder. So we need to have investment in transit to allow for just more convenience and affordability and addressing environmental issues associated with transportation travel. And so how fortunate we are to have the best representatives on the RTD board. Let that message go out to the community, the region. And then I'm so excited to have Amanda on board with this.
Thank you.
Such
Great.
a passionate, thoughtful spokesperson.
Thank you.
May I mention one more thing?
Oh, please do.
I'm gonna make it just very brief, but some
Yeah,
of your
please.
readers or watchers may wonder if we don't mention. The board has started a Northwest Rail study. And
it's an important one.
Yes. Front Range Passenger Rail has been made into a district that has a authority to try to create it. I know that I'm not sure if anybody else, but I know Joan Peck and Claire Levy from this area are on the Front Range Passenger Rail board, and we put $8 million towards studying the peak period rail service. And the hope would be, RTD doesn't have the funding.
Yeah.
It doesn't. But the hope would be that if the Front Range Passenger Rail is funded, that the work we're doing now would help us fold into that.
Yeah.
And this would be the choice.
That peak service study that we're conducting well aligns with how we might be an operational partner on this type of service that would exist should the Front Range Passenger Rail project come to fruition.
So a much broader system that we would fit into and lets us know what is the real cost, what are the opportunities. I just really important to set that up. So, well, we're just so fortunate to have this representation and folks going to work on these critical issues for our community. So I'll thank you so much for being with us on Chamber Chat.
Thanks for having us.
Pleasure, and I'm just gonna remind you, get those nominations in for Women Who Light the Community. And make sure also to sign up for Leadership Fellows. It's an amazing program. And then beer with John, really critical. We may have a beer after this with John. And we'll see you next time on Chamber Chat.